So today we're going to be showing how to set up a lathe for a profiling operation. So first you want to make sure it's on and wait for it to load up. And in the meantime, what you can do is you're going to need to, if it's a long piece of stock, you're going to need to put in the tailstock. So first let's take this out. And now we can put in our drill chuck. First we can place in our center drill, which is a tool used to make a hole for tailstock. To make it a little bit closer. And now we can place it in here. Make sure you press it in. And now we can tie in the center drill. Alright, so now that we have the center drill in, we can load our stock. So let's open up our chuck. And we're using it in this orientation because it's better to have a lot of surface area on your part to decrease the probability of the stock flying out. So we can place that in the center. In order to make sure that your stock is centered, you use a dial indicator. There we can see. Place it on the stock. We can move the Z-axis a bit back so that it's not in the way. You make sure that your lathe is on MPG for this tool, and make sure it's a Z-axis. We can do it by this amount of increments because we know that turning this way is going to make it go in the positive Z direction. Alright, now that's out the way, make our lives a little bit easier. So we can put the dial indicator on the center, and we can make sure that our part is centered. As you can see, there is a bit of movement in our dial indicator, so let's move it to where it is the most, and we can tap it a little bit with a hammer to ensure that it's centered. Now we can see it's a little bit less deviation. Alright, 2000s is probably good enough for the operation we're going to be doing. Since we're going to be profiling on the machine based off of the machine surface, we can have it a little bit, have it with a little bit of deviation, since we are going to be decreasing that deviation through the use of profiling technique. So we have this in, and in order to make sure our tailstock will fit, we have to first drill a hole. We can use the center drill. So let's just move our Z-axis a little bit forward so we can move our center drill. With this tailstock, in order to move it, first you use this knob and make sure it's loose. And then you can move it forward. You can have it like right around here. And tighten it again to make sure the tailstock won't move. Now we can start our spin. Make sure our code runs at a speed. We can change this to 1000 RPM. In order to do that, you first go to edit, and then you can go to that part of the G code using these arrow keys, and now you type in S for spindle speed and then 1000. Now you press Alter, and as you can see, the G code now has 1000. In order to make sure that G code runs, you would go to Reset, Auto, and Cycle Start. Alright, now once we press this button, it will spin clockwise at 1000 RPM. So let's close the enclosure and press the button. Alright, now you're going to use your tailstock and move it forward. Now we've made a hole for our tailstock, so we can move our drill chuck backwards. Yeah. So we have it out. We have it out now, and we can use our tailstock. Place it in. All right. Okay. Now we have our tailstock inserted, and we can place our tailstock in the hole we just drilled. All right. Now we can push it in. And now we have to do a tool change because our profiling tool is at this angle. We want it to be perpendicular to this axis. So let's jog a little bit out of the way to make sure our tool won't hit. So we can press MPG, go to Z positive, or Z negative in this case. You can move out and X. And in order to tool change, all you have to do is press the tool change button. So now we've tool changed and we can do our profiling operation. First, let's move a little bit closer. We can move our X closer. Alright, it appears that will profile. So we can close our enclosure. And we can press clockwise and jog in the Z. We want to make sure our chips break, so we'll go at a slower feed rate. Okay, can clear these little chips, and now that we have machine surface this part, we can set the 0 or the X offset specifically of this machine or of this tool. So let's use our caliper here. We can use millimeters, and let's measure this diameter. Alright, so it appears that it is 25.50, so 25.50, and so we know that our tool is at 25. Is cutting a circle that is 25.5 millimeters in diameter. So this Z dictates that we are at the Z is based off of the diameter of the circle that is being cut on this lathe. So in order to change the offset, we will go to offset. We can go to X. We will press X and 25.5. Now that we've entered that, we can press data input. And as you can see here, the absolute display is 25.5. So we know that at this X, we are going to be cutting profiling a 25.5 millimeter diameter circle. That is how you set up a lathe and do a profiling operation.